Jeez, forgot to put the microphone on. So anyways, if you look here, right, this guy named Murder from Mars, he's kind of rude because he came in and grabbed information from us and then turned around and made some videos just to crap all over us. This one right here is the first look, which is totally fine. He's allowed to have the opinions he wants. If you want to go watch it, you are more than welcome. I will copy it into the chat. Let's do that. Here we go. Put you in there. And then we will go ahead and do this. Copy link. Because I want to make sure people are actually going to watch this and see what type of, things he did so that they understand. We're not going to go through them all together today because we're going to sit here for an hour and 15 minutes doing that if that's what we'll do. So not my exact favorite thing to do. But what he generally comes across and does is he goes and says and invalidates our project because he thinks there's a problem because we use AI. He claims that we are telling people to use AI for learning. And here's the thing, that's just not even accurate, like at all. Because if you come over to our website, yes, we absolutely say this. But then you look at the names and what it says right here, right? It's probably smarter than us anyway. That's a funny joke, okay? Like that's called what's the word? Self-deprecation. It's a joke. Come on. The fact you don't realize that's on you. And then there's the fact of the one that started the whole craze, a safe bet. These are AI generated parts of the site. We are open about that. I mean, you can literally go to our GitHub right now and look at our website. You go to accretionos-code, accretionos-code.github.io. So it's not like we're even hiding it, right? Like, we put in blatantly into the public. Like, it does not take more than like 3 or 4 seconds to Google search this. It's all right here, publicly available for people who want to look at it. So, yeah, we're not hiding that we're using AI. Plus, if you hit F12, you can literally go in here and look at the HTML page. Right? You can go to Style Editor. This shows a lot of what's in the page. You can go into Inspector, and this literally is the page. So like I don't know where you're coming from that. I will admit he did mention that there was supposed to be another part for GNOME stuff. You're right, he was absolutely right on that. So I went ahead and added a button on the page to explain what we did with it. Yeah, I'll give him that. Good idea. But past that, he made the claim that we were telling users to go straight to AI for support. And here's why that's just straight up not right. You go to contact and support, you then go here. There is not a single link to AI on this page. There has never been a link to AI on this page. You can go to the Wayback and even look at that. So I don't know where he's coming from whenever he says that. Because there is a reason we left it off this page. This sends you to our Discord. This just gives you our emails. And that's it, right? Like, and then, okay, I am sorry. I've not streamed in a while. Let's go ahead and look at this. That's the Discord. Hit properties. Do this. And then let's go ahead and show you the actual page because I'm a dummy. Let's go here. So this is the actual contact page. So if you look at it, right, there's nothing about AI on here whatsoever. This is our team directory, which is dad, me, and then our general email that goes to both of our emails. Then we have a contact form. This is literally just an email form. This just sends you to our Discord, which we'll go into in a minute. But like, I want to know where he came up with the idea that we were just telling people to go to AI. No, absolutely not. That's not what we were saying whatsoever. I mean, it's literally not on the page. So if we go back to our homepage, what I was saying earlier, and I'm sorry I didn't show it before, because yeah, it's been a long time since I've streamed. But if you come here, right, yeah, we absolutely talk about AI assistants. But like, as I said, it's probably smarter than us anyway. Your best bet for complex problem solving. This was a joke. Are we not allowed to make jokes now? Like straight up, are we just not allowed to make jokes? That's absurd. Okay, and like, there's nothing wrong with AI. You can go to it and ask questions, but as I tell my friends and other people, it's a multiplier. So if you're going to use AI, it's like if you know what you're doing, it can increase production and quality significantly. If you're going to do it and you don't know what you're doing, you're going to make worse products usually. So keep that in mind. He also trashed all over the website and was saying like, "Oh, it's AI generated." Yeah, like I said, we literally say that. So there's that, and then he tries to come in here and attack these different things, and that really bothers me because if he wants to attack us for our system deboot, sys Linux, and grub, he's got to go attack the Arch Linux developers because that's where we got that. Then you have the ext4 file system. All right, we chose that for a variety of reasons. One, it's stable. Two, ZFS is not compatible with the current licenses. There's XFS, which is ancient and used for hard drives, F2FS, which is used for flash memory, and those are not cross-compatible with one another for hard drives and flash. And then there's technically Bcache-FS, but we're not going to use that. That's not even native in the kernel anymore. Then we have Better-FS, which actually has bugs upstream with RAID. So of course we can't ship those. This is the only one left. What else are we supposed to do? Then you see here, he talked about how Pipewire is not a feature. Yeah, it is. You can still use Pulse Audio if you want to. Just to be clear, like, you technically can. I wouldn't, because Pulse Audio is terrible. But you can. He also then complained about this. I did make this, so I will say that. But here's the thing. We go ahead and download it. This is not that hard. This has got to be something on his system, because let me go ahead and swap you over, properties, switch you over to the downloads folder. So you can see here, there is the button, or the thingy. All you have to do is you right click it. There's a properties button. And you hit permissions. You can't see it because I'm capturing the window, but yeah, it's like, it literally just says allow executing file as program. You toggle it on, hit close, and then you double click it. Or you right click it and hit open. It takes a minute to launch, but it's an Electron app. What do you expect? And then we'll go ahead and go here. Let me go ahead and capture the window for you. We'll go ahead and hit properties, hit that, and then there it is, the flashing utility. It launches. Just saying. And if you hit refresh, it shows the ISO images. You can't see that because it's capturing the window again, but it shows that. I mean, you can select USB drives in here. Like, you can even toggle the console so you can see what it's doing. This works. We've tested it like 100 or so times. I mean, like, I don't know where he's coming up with this information, because it doesn't compute, right? It just doesn't. Now we're gonna go ahead and head on over to the Discord. This is where things get fun. Earlier I had said he had came in and talked to us, and he absolutely did, and I was glad he came in. He seems like a really nice guy, but it's almost like he decided to pull in information from us and used it to manipulate his way through so he can make a video. And I'll explain more of why I think that's the case here in a minute. So we'll start here. So what's the difference between this and Manjaro? Manjaro also holds back packages in the name of stability, but it often introduces increased instability instead. Does this distro do things differently? I tagged Dad, who's Linux Grandpa, and I said, and I run our distro on our personal machines, which helps with the fact of maintaining stability. As you can see, I'm running it. And then I had said, we also make sure there are sane defaults. We are not redefining the wheel either. We pull in Arch packages and release them on a 2-week cycle after testing. We do not bother trying to maintain every single package ourselves. We do not have the manpower nor the desire to do so. This is a massive difference between Manjaro and us. Manjaro maintains their entire repositories. We do make sure things work. We add an extra level of testing, but we don't claim to be the maintainers of every single package. That's what GPG keys are for. You can go and look. There is Accretion OS as a level of testing on top of what Accretion OS. I was supposed to say Arch1X, but brain be brain. We simply offer an easy path for those wishing to get into the Arch ecosystem. The other thing is that we target for non-technical users. Our documentation is written as such. We are okay with AI as a learning tool. He flipped our words in his videos, and we push for innovation and improvements every single day. For instance, we have not released it as a build yet, but we fixed the Libid Vita theme issue with PAMAC in the last couple of days. That is probably when people realized that the theming got fixed in the ISO images after they got an update and whatnot. We literally just swapped out the PAMAC package for a GTK3 counterpart. There is so much more past this, but these are just some of the highlights. Please give it a try. We have put in quite a lot of effort to make sure it is stable for the end user and is reliable. Dad says, explain to remove old PAMAC and install the new for users. Yeah, explaining we got to replace it, right? And then we go ahead and go to the other thing is that we will never, ever tell you to read the effing manual. And that's just true. I will never do that to somebody because I know what it's like. I then said, I'm just going to release an update package. I'll explain here in a second. He says, I see I'm a small-time YouTuber and I'm always looking for new distros to try. I heard about this one and was curious. Thank you for the concise response. It's almost like he's taking this information, writing it down for a plan, as we can see here. I then say, yeah, absolutely. If you ever want to jump into a voice chat, I'd be happy to jump in and we can go through things together. I started to stream my work again as of late. I will link my channel here in a bit when I get to my computer. We also have an Accretion OS YouTube channel. I just need to get multi-streaming set up. So I'm trying to be open and honest with this guy. Be like, hey, let's establish a relationship of some kind so we can get to know one another as friends. That's it. I see this as primarily aimed as a general workstation OS, which is accurate. Do you guys offer any kind of helpful utilities for setting up, say, gaming packages, AUR helpers, etc.? So here's the thing, right? We're not a gaming distro, but you absolutely can game. Dad plays 7 Days to Die like multiple times, like a week, at least 3 or 4 times. I'm willing to bet you at this point. I don't know why he thought that, but anyways, just trying to make some notes for later. This rubs me the wrong way. I don't know. It's almost like this was being planned ahead of time. This bothers me. And then Dad says, the way it's set up now is great for gaming, just have to install your drivers for it. Also, Yay is installed as an AUR helper, and third repo called ACUR has bin files from Yay/AUR. Dad does have a writing disability, but you get the point of what he's saying, and it's honestly great. I think this was perfectly fine. Then he says, speaking of drivers, how does NVIDIA look? Does your installer have an option to install the drivers alongside the system? This is particularly good for me to know as my primary rig is NVIDIA powered, unfortunately. Okay, so like, if he still thinks NVIDIA's been a problem on Linux, he's not been paying attention for a very long time. There have not been major issues with NVIDIA in a long time, unless you count Wayland, but we're on X. So like that answers the question straight up. Then there's Dad. You can choose your video card you have, yes, and it will install them. He then proceeds to say, nice, sorry for the barrage of questions. Well, no big deal. You are completely fine. It has support for NVIDIA Intel Arc via i915, which is the Intel Media driver, I believe. I'll have to check again. If it's not there, I'll put it there, but yeah, NVIDIA works. Then Dad responds saying, you are fine, ask away. My responses are sometimes a bit slow, just so you know. And I said, just being transparent. Mine tend to be more blunt, but I try to be respectful. Well, I'm pretty good about responding, though. He says, ooh, we should get along then. And I'm just like, okay, cool, another blunt person, that's totally fine. And I say, woo, I love your name, by the way. Up to sending your channel information. I'd love to subscribe. Just trying to be supportive. Dad says mine too, or me too, not mine. Me too. That's what that was supposed to be. Oh, I love wobbly windows so much. Yeah, he loves wobbly windows. He'll like sit there and like do it. It's really funny. But yeah, he says same name as here, and then he links off to his YouTube channel. You know, and then we have continuing. The reason we're going through all this is because I want to show you the precedence of what this is. So, and I say, oh, you are a Star Trek fan too. Oh, if you check out the distro, give us your feedback. We want to make sure it is the best experience for an end user. Talking to our community is how we do that best. No corporate, no BS. Lol. This is where I just wanted to show we are open to criticism. I specifically said it to him. It's about where you do it. You don't just go on YouTube and then blast a project because they disagree with your standpoint. Okay, this right here shows we're open to criticism. I was willing to listen to him. And this has been proven right here. I go ahead and show off somebody else who made it because I was really impressed. I thought it was cool. And then he says, I am a Star Trek fan indeed. He also says, well, never fear, I'll install it on bare metal this evening and we will see how it does. I do appreciate he did it on bare metal. But here's the other thing. In his videos, he didn't do an install. He does claim it does everything it's going out for and what we're looking for. And that was the point. That's why you make a distribution. You don't do it just because you feel like it. You do it because there's a need. So, anyways, so I say, so you know, you need internet access, making sure he knows it's an online installer. He then says, I'm currently running Vanilla Arch. I'll just drop it on my secondary drive. No worries, I get it. It's a new project to him. Won't be a problem, he's saying to the internet access part. I then say, it helps keep the ISO smaller, lol. And then Dad and I argued for months over it, and I just submitted it at a certain point. I understand where he was coming from at this point, lol. I want to add a slideshow into Calamari, but first I want to keep working on the ISO. The current ISO has most applications in dark mode. PAMAC is not. I fixed that in our GitHub. Excuse me, but we haven't uploaded that ISO yet. I want to have Dad give a thumbs up before I roll it out, which is totally fine. Yeah, we're just making sure we're communicating. And then we have this guy. He says, I'll be sure to post my setup when the time comes. He's just showing off his setup right here. And I say, cool. He says, I'm really big into theming. I'm happy for that. He likes racing. And I say, you know, I respect that. He says, can do some fun stuff with Plasma. Dad says, I love wobbly windows so much. He enjoys that. I say, please rephrase what you just said, making a bad joke. And then we go down. We'll skip that so we don't get in trouble for YouTube. And then he says, I know, I couldn't resist. Dad says, sigh, not what I meant. What? He then says, are you having a stroke? I understood you on all accounts, don't worry. Well, I'm looking forward to trying your project this evening. Should be installing it in about an hour or so. Dad says, okay, cool. Jacob comes in with his own way of writing and says, he's having coffee. Then Murder from Mars says, huh, coffee? Jacob says, yep, coffee time. I probably will when I get home. Okay, I want more coffee. Yeah. Why no options for BetterFS on the installer? I've already explained that before. It's a stability thing. And then we go down. I mean, fair enough. However, Arch is all about freedom of choice. It's one of the things that makes the distro so appealing to so many. I understand the concerns about stability, and I'm assuming some personal preference, but you could always default to ext4 and still have other options available. Most beginners probably wouldn't give a S word, but I could definitely see this as being a deal breaker for many others. He's right, it could be, but again, they are not our target audience. We are targeting the new Windows user who doesn't want to have to learn anything. They just want to be able to install it and then go do whatever they want on Netflix or Facebook or play a few video games, that kind of thing. They're not in it to learn a million new things. But again, it is Arch. It is Arch under the hood. You can do whatever you can on Arch on here. All we're doing is actually increasing accessibility. So I don't see where his point is here. And then I say, and again, we excluded on purpose. AccretionOS is meant to be a new user starting point. They're likely coming from macOS and or Windows. If they want other file systems and have got to that level of expertise, would they not just have graduated to Arch by that point? We target the new user, that is the scope of the project. We are more of a pathway to teach people, generally speaking. We would love people to stick with AccretionOS, and we will always have the same defaults for those not wanting to learn. We will always be here to teach those who ask. So again, this just kind of highlights that we're just adding an extra layer of accessibility for people who want to learn and people who don't want to learn. It is that simple. It's really not that complicated. Then he says, catering to new years is catering to new, I'm assuming that's supposed to be users, is an admirable goal. But in his humble opinion, it shouldn't come completely at the expense of more advanced users. I get what you're saying, and I'm not trying to be standoffish about it. You said you wanted honest feedback. I mean, if the goal is a steady stream of new users who move on to the things, that's fine. But it would seem to me, in terms of project longevity and building a wider community, you wouldn't want to alienate more advanced users in the process. Just his opinion. We're not alienating them. That's just his opinion. Again, you can do anything you can on Arch on AccretionOS. Like, you can't, like, just straight up. Like, it is literally just Arch. So we haven't alienated anyone, though. Anything you can do on Arch, you can do on AccretionOS with enough work. Nobody is going to stop anyone from anything. Heck, if someone does something extremely cool, I might even jump in and help them. I have been using Arch Linux since I was 9 years old. I love it more than any other distribution. Like, I am all about tinkering. Lol. And then he says, hey, it's just something to think about, that's all. I'm just some rando. Lol. You know, that's the thing though, like, this seems pressury. Like, he's trying to push his opinions on us, and I don't personally take very well to that. Just don't do that to me. Like, that's disrespectful. Um, so then I say, ha 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 ha. We do keep that in mind. Heh 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 heh. Our Arch ISO configs are on GitHub for people to steal. And then again, heh 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 heh. I do that way too much. We always are open to ideas and commits. Ooh woo. I'd appreciate feedback though. At some point I might look at making my own Arch install like script and hide it in AccretionOS for advanced users. That could help itch that scratch, I think. Scratch that itch. I'm correcting it. Because, well, brain do brain things. But yeah, after that, right, we just go into normal conversation with other people. So, like, we addressed his concerns and told him that's not what we want to do. This is our project and we're trying to help people. So, like, I don't know why he got so upset and made a video. You know, he could have came and talked to us too. That was rude. Incredibly rude. Alright, then now we go ahead and head on over to the comments of the videos. Alright, this is the first one. Let's go to my comment. I say this. You know, I have to make a comment. I have to say this. I am the maker of that website and the co-developer of AccretionOS. We actively put on our website that we are open to the use of AI. We are transparent about that. We also show that on our website itself, we would rather move with the industry than against it. Red Hat, Canonical, and others are using the tooling, so in order to move forward and keep up, we are using the tooling as needed to provide the best experience we can. I also, and let me make sure I switch this over. I did not switch this over. Jeez, I hate this. I'm having to do it this way because of for whatever reason, the screen sharing isn't working. I heard Dad yelling in the other room. That's all I knew. Let's go ahead and head here. There we go. Hit OK. Okay, sorry. Let's start that over. Oh my God, scroll down. There we go. You know, I have to make a comment. I have to say this. I am the maker of that website and the co-developer of AccretionOS. We actively put on our website that we are open to the use of AI. We are transparent about that. We also show that on our website itself. We would rather move with the industry than against it. Red Hat, Canonical, and others are using the tooling, so in order to move forward and keep up, we are using the tooling as needed to provide the best experience we can. I also think I need to mention that both of us have disabilities, which is also mentioned. Shaming us for the use of AI as an assistance tool for our disabilities is not only shameful, but incredibly disrespectful. I wish you the best going forward, and thank you for your criticisms. Nat. So here's the thing, okay? I'm not wrong on this, like, at all. Okay, that website is generated by AI, and I did do it with Gemini, not ChatGPT, just to be clear. Whatever, it's not a big deal. But yeah, I used Gemini to generate that. So then we also have here, being transparent about that. Okay. Then we have the industry. Then again, right, Red Hat Canonical and these other companies, Microsoft, Google, and so far, are using AI to make things go faster. They do that because it's a tool. We don't just go tell somebody to go make everybody do it with just AI, but you don't just do everything manually anymore. You don't. They haven't done that in a long time. If you think that they do, you're stuck in the 2000s. You gotta move forward with time as things change. Alright, and then what he says. Thanks for the response, Nat. To be clear, I was not attacking your use of accessibility tools. My critique was focused on the end user experience. While companies like Red Hat use AI, they also have massive human infrastructure behind it. My concern for Accretion OS is that encouraging new users to rely on AI for troubleshooting, which can confidently give wrong answers, is a recipe for disaster when learning Linux. I pointed out the AI text because right now it is a friction point for many potential users in the Linux space. I appreciate the background context and I wish you luck with the future development. So here again, we didn't ever tell anybody, oh, just go to AI to get support. No, as I showed you on the website earlier, we don't even put it on that page for a reason. We want you to come to Discord and ask us questions. Because honestly, Dad and I can give you better answers straight up front. Will AI work okay? Yeah, and I'll show you right now how so. So let's go ahead and open up another tab. Let's go to chatgpt.com. All right. What is Accretion OS? Start with that as an example. Close tab. It goes ahead and does the training thing. It's an open source Linux distribution built on Arch Linux's core, but designed to be easier to install and use for everyday desktop users. Unlike vanilla Arch, which is very hands-on and requires manual setup, Accretion OS comes with pre-configured defaults, a graphical installer, and desktop environments ready to use out of the box. It explains it has Arch Linux as a foundation, user-friendly design, rolling release model with testing, desktop edition, right? So, like, this isn't wrong. This is telling you exactly what it is. I would love to see how this is wrong. And then we'll go ahead and ask it an accretionalized specific piece of information. Let's think. How do I do updates in Accretion OS? Well, let's get that. Alright, it tells you how to do it out of the command line. This is accurate because this is actually how you do it in Arch. This is how you do it with the AUR. And then let's say I want to use a GUI. It'll give you probably a few options in here, I'm assuming, here in a minute. Yeah. It doesn't always ship with the graphical updater enabled by default, but you can absolutely use one. Right? It's saying you can install PAMAC, which is already there. If you want GNOME software, you can do it. The point is, it gives you information to enable you, which is just straight up true. So I don't know how that's a hallucination. All right, let's go to Gemini. Let's do the same thing. And then we'll ask it, what is Accretion OS? All right. Give it a second. Accretion OS is an approachable, user-friendly Linux distribution based on Arch Linux. Its primary goal is to provide a clean, stable, and JustWorks desktop environment that bridges the gap between the power of Arch and simplicity expected by everyday users, especially those looking for an alternative to Windows. I'm assuming you guys are able to see this. Yeah, okay, good. And then we'll say, you've played a significant role in this project, Natalie, blah, blah, blah. It knows what I did. So then we have Arch Base Power. It explains it just works, multiple flavors. This is actually from back in the day. We were going to be doing an XFCE whenever Ben was part of it. And this is before we retired GNOME. This was an early attempt, but then we realized the Plasma release cycle was incredibly painful. And then we learned community editions just weren't worth it. You know how hard it would have been to maintain Hyperland and Exponet? Gosh, that was whenever we had to live on board too. But like the point is, it says as of early 2026, the project is actively improving its installer, ISO builds, and custom utilities, while it currently uses Arch as its foundation. The long-term goal for the community-driven effort is to eventually move towards its own independent base. That never changed. And it even mentions a new project I've been working on. I mean, like, this is pulling in accurate information. So, like, I don't know how this guy thinks this is hallucinating, right? All right, we'll log into this with my Google account too. I'm gonna use Claude. So this is Dad's favorite AI. All right, hit continue. Exit. Hit accept the terms of use. All right, and now we'll ask it. It has my dead name in it. Ouch. This hurts. What is Accretion OS? My point is to show you with this, the hallucination stuff is significantly less than it used to be. It's basically saying the same thing out of Google, right? Accretion OS is a user-friendly Linux distribution based on Arch Linux. Accretion OS that launched recently in 2025. Okay, this isn't quite right. It's just we had to redo the website and we put it on GitHub, so that's probably why I pulled that up. But it's designed to make the powerful Arch Linux ecosystem more accessible to everyday users by providing a stable, pre-configured, and beautiful desktop experience right out of the box. So on and so forth. It talks about the same stuff we just talked about. User-friendly setup, made it easy. Open source commitment, yes. Well, early reviews note, could use a bit of polish, it's still very new. It's being described. This is old information, yes, on this one. But here's the thing, it's still accurate. Okay, like, oh my gosh. My point is to prove that wrong, okay? AI is totally fine to get information from. And that the whole days of, let's say, everything's going to be a hallucination have been gone for over a year. I don't know where he's getting that information anymore unless he's using old information. I just proved that to you. So, anyways, let's move forward. So, generally, I kind of think you missed the point of our distro. We were not after let's change the world, we were after it just works. You described it as the Arch Linux Mint. That is 100% accurate and was the goal. With that in mind, that also means our user base target is the new Windows user, not the advanced Linux user. I hope that helps. Nah, just giving a clarification. Then they went ahead and tagged me. To be honest, I don't think I missed the point at all, in fact. My review explicitly acknowledged that your goal was to be an Arch Linux Mint. My criticism was specifically about how that goal is being executed. If the target is a new Windows user, relying on AI for support is actually dangerous. Again, we're not doing that. A beginner cannot tell the difference between, so on. He's just continuing rambling about the same thing. Why? And then we have, and regarding the starting point philosophy, as I said in the video, if your project is designed as a stepping stone where users are expected to move on to Arch eventually, it limits the project's own growth. Why should a user invest time learning a transitional distro when they could simply start with Mint or use one of the many other beginner-friendly Arch distros that don't make it so they essentially need to distro hop? Alright, just to kind of explain what you just said and explain how it's so backwards and it makes zero sense. Okay, if you're getting familiar with a package manager and you are learning, they have different options set within their package managers. apt is what they use in Linux Mint, okay? They use Pacman in Arch. We put it inside of Accretion OS because Arch Linux is the elite version of what we're doing, but we are based on that. It is the same underlying code. By being transitional, it makes it easy for them to learn if they want to learn. If they don't want to learn, it's just fine and they can go do whatever they want to do, right? It's offering for both kinds of people. So there is that. They don't need a distro hop if we already built it for them. Anyways, you can have a system that just works. Let me see. Did I undo it? Here we go. You can have a system that just works and be beginner friendly without ensuring that your users are going to feel compelled to move on eventually. Everybody moves on at a certain point. That's called Linux. There's no more than that. I don't know what to tell you on that. Alright, to be blunt, you are talking as if the average person is a moron. People are not stupid. Secondly, I would love to see the data you are running on for the AI blatantly lies confidently. That may have been true a year or two ago, but in 2026, it is very uncommon for that to be the case. You are running on old data. Why would they use Accretion OS over Linux Mint? Well, Arch has been proven in many tests and scenarios to be significantly more performant than Debian Ubuntu bases. It provides the best of both worlds. Also, you are assuming people want to learn. That assumption isn't reality whatsoever. There are reasons they were sticking on to Windows. Most people switching that are part of our potential user base are not switching to learn, but because they recognize their computers are fine and don't want to spend thousands on a new computer because Microsoft said so. That's all, and please begin to do your research before replying. Nat. I wasn't trying to be rude or disrespectful. It's just he's obviously running on old information, and he's pushing his own opinions into things, trying to say it's fact. Alright, we'll go ahead and continue. He says, Nat, I need to be absolutely clear. Nothing I've said is calling users stupid. And nothing I've said is a personal attack on anyone. You keep framing it that way, but that isn't what this discussion is about. My critique is about risk, design choices, and the experience you're offering to new users. The simple reality is that beginners cannot reliably tell the difference between correct. Oh my god. He just keeps going on about AI, which we're not even doing this. That's why pointing brand new users to AI as a primary troubleshooting tool is risky, which we were never doing. And this is exactly why I voiced my reservations in the review. My review is meant to help new users who are trying to decide whether to trust a brand new distro on the block. When someone presents the project as an ideal choice for beginners, those beginners deserve to know what the trade-offs are, what the risks are, and what alternatives exist that already solve those problems more reliably. That's the thing, though. Do we need to pull up Linux Mint and put ours next to it? Then we have your positioning Accretion OS as a great option for new users, but the question those users will naturally ask is simple. What about this Arch-based distro makes it worth choosing over something more established, more stable, and better supported? If the answer is performance alone, that isn't enough for the demographic you're targeting. Beginners care about stability, predictability, and a strong support community. That's why Linux Mint succeeds. It's not the fastest, but it's dependable. So, here's the thing. Whatever. If you go to the Linux Mint forums, you're going to get answers from another user, not the developers usually. We specifically offer our Discord link on our website so that you can come ask us, because we'll tell you what it is that you need to know. If you go to, let's say, Linux Mint, you absolutely can get that information, but you'll be likely sending an email, which takes longer to get a reply. There's also the fact you say it's more stable. Well, there's a reason we maintain our own package repositories, as I told you, and test things and release it in a 2-week cycle. That is to keep stability in check. And then, let's see, more established. You're right, they've been around longer. But it's also based on Ubuntu, which is just kind of a mess, to be real. I don't know how else to put that. There's a reason I don't use it anymore. Then now he says, and if your target audience is now new Windows users who don't want to learn, then giving them a distro that depends heavily on AI troubleshooting creates a contradiction. If they don't want to learn, they also won't know how to recover from a bad AI suggestion. We're not telling them to use AI to learn everything. They come to us from the website, on the contact page, and talk to us. If we don't know something, we'll go find it. If we want to teach them how to get information, we teach them how to get information. My review wasn't an attack, it was a critique of how your stated goals wind up with the actual user experience you're building. You're free to disagree, but dismissing concerns instead of engaging with them doesn't make them disappear. I want the project to succeed, but success requires being willing to hear criticism, not just praise. I told them in our Discord I was open to criticism, and I have no problem with somebody having their opinions. But then he never told us he was making a video. He said he was going to test it, but then he turned around and made a video that did nothing but shame our project. Of course I'm going to be upset. Of course I'm going to feel disrespected. He could have addressed these by talking, which we straight up told him this is not what we want out of our project. And because he didn't get his way, he came and made a video just to attack it. That's wrong. Why would you do that? Okay, and then we go down. He says, let me see. Alright, I would like to examine the performance justification for choosing Accretion OS over Linux Mint more closely. If the desktop environment remains so in Cinnamon, the asserted performance advantage becomes negligible. Cinnamon is a resource-heavy interface and acts as the primary system bottleneck, regardless of whether if it runs Arch or Mint. You mean Arch or Ubuntu? Consequently, claiming meaningful performance gains while utilizing the exact same desktop environment is logically inconsistent. Furthermore, the Linux Mint team actively develops Cinnamon, meaning their implementation contains optimizations and integrations that a standard upstream Arch build likely lacks. This guy's not a developer. I can tell you that right now from that paragraph, okay? And here's why. I'm going to show you something. Let me go ahead and open a terminal. I will make sure you guys can see it in a second. I'm going to show you how we get our packages. All right, let's go ahead and go to OBS, and we're going to swap this over properties. We're going to go to the terminal. Where are you? If I can get to the terminal. There it is. There's the terminal. Hit OK. And as you can see here, all right, you can do yay-g and then the name of the package. I don't know if the AUR is down. There's another way of doing this. Let me go do it the other way, I suppose. We can do this inside of the browser too. So we can go. Okay, Dad, I'll do that. So we go here, and then, alright, we're gonna do it this way. So we're gonna go ahead and go to Cinnamon, Arch Linux, and I'll show you where you can pull the information that we're talking about. So, we'll do packages. Alright, you go to the main page. You go to source files. They changed a little bit, but it's pretty much the same. Give it a second to load. You can see here's their GitLab. Alright. This, I'm not kidding, and this is why I think he's not a developer. Look where they pull it from. They pull it from the Mint team. So what he just said is not accurate whatsoever. Then we go ahead and head back over to the video. Additionally, the premise that Arch Linux is inherently more performant than Debian is incorrect. System responsiveness and gaming frame rates are primarily determined by kernel tuning and process scheduling, not the underlying package manager. So, again, I don't think he knows what he's talking about. Because if you look at the optimization of different files, we're going to do this too. Let's look up apt from Canonical, which is on Launchpad. They do a lot of the Debian development too. So let me look up Pacman on the Arch Linux GitLab. I'm going to show you something. All right, Launchpad, Pacman on the GitLab. Yeah, here we go. Alrighty. There are, let's look at the differences between these two. Let's go to code. Give it a second. Oh. Alright, sorry. You can see how often this is actually updated. This most recent one was a week ago. Pac-Man. Let's see, when was the most recent one for Pac-Man? It was 4 months ago, I think, is the most recent one. Oh, 3 months ago. However, if I were to put 1 month ago. However, if I was to go ahead and pull up a terminal, let's say between Ubuntu with apt versus Pac-Man on Arch, Pac-Man is going to go faster no matter what. And there's one feature why. It's called parallel downloads. It means you can download multiple things at the same time. Apt did not have that ability until apt 3.0, which was not done by Canonical. It was actually done by the Mint team, but they rewrote 3.0 in Debian, which then got trickled downstream. So I don't understand why he made that claim. It just doesn't make sense. Because there's also the fact of, okay, there's a lot more developers here, I can tell you that right now, than there are on this one. Alright. I mean, you can look at the giant gaps between development. You can go from, this is not a huge gap, but then you go from September to January. And then you go to here, let's go ahead and go to the commit messages. Not super familiar with this interface, but if we go to history, let's see when the last one was done. You go from January to January, January to the next day, December. You see, there's not like a 3 or 4 month gap. It's like within a week. So no, I'm not buying that for a second. And okay, so now we go ahead and go here. Pika OS serves as a strong counterexample. Despite being based on Debian SID, Pika OS rivals the performance of optimized Arch systems because its developers implement specific engineering solutions such as custom kernels and CPU schedulers. It achieves high performance through engineering rather than the reputation of its base. Ow, that's disrespectful. Second of all, how do I put this? We're targeting average users. I don't know how much more clear I can be. Your average person's not going to know how to even manage a custom kernel, much less a CPU scheduler. The market is very oversaturated with user-friendly Arch distros, many of whom offer more options with more modern features. So again, what is the draw? So that's the thing, right? When there's more of something, that means there's more getting contributed upstream, which is fixing the major project. Having sub-projects is important. That is the entire point of open source. If you don't see that, that is 100% on you. Because you clearly don't know how open source even works. You obviously are not a developer. And I literally just went and proved to you that what you said was wrong. So I don't know how else to help you. So we go ahead and head on over to your other video. Which, oh, he decided to try to trash me all over YouTube. So, yeah, we can do this game. We'll go ahead and scroll down. Alright. He says, or not he says, I said, you claim I have twisted your words. However, if you took the time to go to the contact page, there is not a single thing telling you to go to the LOM. No, it is a link to the Discord. You are running on old thought processes. As I said to somebody else, AI is a multiplier. If you know what you're doing, it is a 10 times improvement. If you do not, it gets 10 times worse. I even said in my prior comments that it is used for accessibility. Once again, you neglected to tell people our contact page does not point to AI, and it never has. As I said, there is nothing new about accretionalist. It is just another option. We are two people just offering something that works for people. We maintain our own repos, and it's 100% just trying to help. Also, we have 1,200 users, so you know, because he tried to claim that there's nobody using it within this. Then we have, okay, LLMs are fine. You are injecting your own opinions as if they are fact. You are absolutely allowed to feel the way you do. And I just showed you earlier, they don't do that anymore. Not for the most part. You clearly don't know how much work it takes. Also, we did not lock down the Discord. That was a Discord policy change. Yeah, they require you to have 1,000+ users to even make it public anymore. It's absurd. Anyways, they require a certain amount of users to have it completely public now. I'd be happy to post proof where you would like it. The requirement is 1,000 members as of February 10th, 2026. We cannot turn on the community features. New Linux users aren't even looking at it as Linux. They're looking at it as I want to go to YouTube or Paramount Plus or Facebook. We aren't targeting the person that wants to learn. You once again don't seem to realize that average people don't go to Linux to learn. Also, no, they don't have to learn. That is literally the whole point of our Discord. We will tell them exactly how to do it or automate the process for them or script it. We don't run it like Arch. That is the entire point. If you don't like it, that's okay. You are not our user base to begin with. Wish you the best, Natalie. Again, not being rude, just saying you weren't even the one we were looking at whenever we made it. Like, that's just a raw reality, right? Like, and then he says, AI assistance. We're a small team, and while we're passionate about building an OS, our collective brain power has its limits. For questions that go beyond our expertise, we recommend consulting one of these digital sages. Google's Gemini is probably smarter than us anyway. Your best bet for complex problem solving. Ask Gemini. He literally just copied off our website. One that started the whole craze, whatever. The thoughtful one, great for detailed, constitutionally aligned answers. If I was a new user, I would take this as we recommend using LLMs to troubleshoot problems we can't /won't help with. Putting words in people's mouths, why don't you? And this is directly from your homepage. And you absolutely did twist my words. On the comments of that video, you directly implied my misgivings about an AI-generated website and urging your user base to rely on LLMs was an attack on your personal disabilities, which is ridiculous and has zero merit. So, first off, no. That's not at all what I said. Like, you straight up. All I said was, you are making fun of people who do this as a courtesy, who eat the power bill costs, every single cost associated with it, to offer something for people for free. I also said, yeah, you are making fun of people with disabilities. Because the fact is, you are. You're saying what we are doing is worthless because of the fact that we're the same as everybody else. We've actually risen above many others, and the reason for that is we are fighting a battle that you would never have to fight, so stop it. There is, and since you continue to insist on pursuing the LLMs never hallucinate angle, here's a list of studies, blah, 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 whatever. They can put this all they want. I literally showed you they're full of crap. AI is far from perfect and isn't a substitute for human-based support infrastructure. Period. I agree with you. As you said in your own comment, AI is a great multiplier in the hands of a capable developer. Now who's trying to twist words? In the hands of someone who isn't literate on the subject matter they're using it to manipulate, it's a potential minefield. I also never said the intended audience was someone like me. I evaluated it on the grounds of would I recommend this to a new user. Well, one, you're entitled if you think you get to say what somebody new gets to use at all. Second of all, you literally cannot do an unbiased way of thinking when it comes to being a new user. You've been in a Linux machine for at least a year, based on what you've said and what I've seen. That's not a new user. You've moved past that point. Be willing to admit it. The answer is no, and I explain why. You can deflect criticism by saying, well, you aren't our target audience all you want, but that doesn't hold much water at the end of the day. Yeah, it does. Yes, it does. Do you not understand how the industry works? Like, do you legitimately not know? You have okay, whenever your boss comes to you and says, I want this, you have to go do that. We don't have a boss, but whenever Dad and I literally sat down and talked about doing this, we went, okay, what do we want? He was using Linux Mint at the time, and I really liked Arch. And I still like Arch. And then I showed him how to use Arch. And then we sat down and said, dang, we can do better. We think we can do better. And then we did. With Accretion OS, which is literally the Linux Mint of Arch. So I don't understand where you're coming from on this. That is exactly what we set out to do, and that is what we did. If you don't like that, that's not my problem. Okay, I don't assume people want to learn. I assume rightfully that if you hang out at a barber shop long enough, eventually you're going to get a haircut. Yeah, that's right, but guess what? By that point, you've learned. You've done all the research. You know how to move forward. And you would also realize at that point it is Arch. Linux is gonna Linux, and eventually, whether you use Mint or Gentoo, you're gonna encounter something specific to Linux you'll need to learn something about. Exactly. That's why we said to come to our Discord. Glad you can agree it brings nothing new to the table, though. That just further reinforces my position on why new users should just use a better established project. Or maybe you're just a jackass who wanted to do something for clicks. And here's where I can start saying you did. Let's go back to your channel. LTT's best GPU for Linux video. You only do LTT if you want clicks. We have recently been getting in the media. So you did clicks. CyberZero. Fucking Steve, by the way. Steve and I are friends, so you know. So kiss my ass. Then you have, clicks. Then you have clicks. Then you have Kyanite. Clicks. Plasma Theme Showcase. Clicks. How to easily make your own color schemes in Plasma. Clicks. I might be switching to GPU screen recorder. Literally, this is the definition of clickbait. Then you have Accretion OS, again, which we were in the news. Then you have trying out the Xbox full screen experience on desktop, which is just trying to show it off. Then you have quick guide to my Cyberpunk 2077 theme, which is literally done in a way so that the YouTube algorithm will see it. My point stands. You did this to try to get clicks at our expense, so you are not welcome in my community, to be clear. And second of all, you are one awful person. For those of you who do want to use the project, we are willing to help you. We are willing to welcome you. You are welcome to come to our Discord. We'd be happy to help you. Just please don't do what this guy did. What this guy did was wrong. And really dicky, to be honest. And frankly, as you can see, I don't put up with crap. That's just not me. I'm very blunt, but I love the people who work with me. I love what I do, and I'm going to continue to keep doing it. I don't care if this guy has a problem with me. I just don't care. And I love Accretion OS. I'm going to keep moving forward. So thank you so much. And I'm going to go ahead and end the stream now. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.